Hello and welcome to season 4 of Own Your Divine Light show. This show is how to accelerate ascension during times of chaos and pandemic. I am Isla Serona Miller, and that is my magical name of Janet that I'm stepping into more and more. And we've all been going through so much, and it's feeling like things are starting to lift, and yet there is still so much unknown on the horizon. And we are meant to create a new way of being. And we are today having this amazing guest who has brought so much insight to people. And I'm very excited to bring you Hans Wilhelm. And Hans, I'm going to say a quick hello and just tell people more about you.
Hello, Isla. Thank you so much for inviting me. Delighted to be here.
Thank you. And we're going to, Hans Wilhelm is the author and illustrator of over 200 books for all ages, including some together with Byron Katie. His books have sold over 40 million copies in other languages and translated into 30 languages. He is a mystic, and he has recently created over 100 short YouTube videos in which he virtually explains the spiritual laws of the universe. And those are amazing. I just want you to know, audience, you're going to have to look at these, because if you want to know these laws very simply and clearly, Hans is telling you how. And in these videos, you can watch him drawing the dynamics of these laws and see how all the dots are connected. And this absolutely unique visual presentation has made his videos so successful that they have been watched by over, is it 150,000 people or 15 million? Is it 15 million?
15 million.
That's what I thought. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. So you can see how much these are really regarded, and they're amazing. And Hans says, my wish is to inspire viewers to explore spirituality and to look at the bigger picture and perspective of their life. And we will see how everything fits together and there are no mistakes. And we will begin to grasp the perfection and the love that is the foundation of everything. And wow, what a fantastic quote, and what a beautiful understanding. The things that you have really understood so simply, Hans, is incredible. I'm just so excited to have you here. So welcome.
Great to be here, Isla. Yeah, it was a long journey, 60 years studying and trying to apply it. I'm still a student. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a guru. I'm not a medium. I'm none of the special persons which are now filling the YouTube channels and the internet. I'm just an ordinary student who uses his talent to illustrate, which I do for my children's books, and make visible that what is sometimes very abstract and very difficult to grasp. But when one sees it, how all the dots connect, it becomes very clear and very simple to understand.
It's beautiful. I know you've been very prolific and you're so busy. I mean, the books that you brought to children, and now you've open up to your mystical, spiritual side. And these videos are so deep and they're so succinct. I mean, it's amazing because you've really synthesized these understandings so clearly. So that's why, for the audience, if you've had trouble understanding mystical things, you have to watch these. So how did you step into the mystical part of yourself? Because you were writing children's books for years.
Well, no, my interest in the spirituality was much earlier, when I was sort of a teenager still. And I couldn't believe that the organized religion had all the answers. At least I couldn't find them all. So slowly, step by step, that was before internet, before Googling and so on, I found myself through Edgar Cayce and many, many other wonderful teachers that expanded my understanding of spirituality. And over the years, I have tried to apply much of it and seen what works and what doesn't work. And now for the last 30 years and so on, I'm sticking strictly to a path which is given to us by the spiritual world, which is very much free. There's no commitment, so you don't have to join any membership. You don't have to buy any books. Books would be helpful, but there is no need to join anything, and there is no guru and there is no teacher. It is only between God and you. So if anybody is interested in a path like this, this is where my material comes from. And what I found out, the more I studied it, I understood now what it means, that God is ingenious simplicity. God is very clear in whatever the laws are. There is no complexity here, which our intellect loves to do. Our intellect loves to get sort of caught up in very complicated kind of patterns and this, etc. But God is very straightforward, very clear. And when you see the videos, you will see how absolutely everything makes sense. And it's surprising that this very simple and straightforward truth, as I understand it, for me, is not shared more with other people so easily. But because it is just free, there is no organization behind it. That makes it maybe the reason why nobody is really, why they haven't got the millions of people following it. But I think deep down, your soul will know that this path has truth when you see one of these videos.
It's true, because your teachings really go to the whole foundation of who we are as beings, and you teach us so much. And talking about divine spiritual being, you really have picked up on the key elements of that, and you brought it to people. And so, do they come as downloads? How do you bring them through? Like, what do you get?
I get it. No, I don't get anything downloaded by myself. I get it only through the books which I have read and which I study, and which I also very often recommend at the end of my videos. So anybody who wants to explore deeper can use any of these books. These books come from many different paths, but they are all very helpful books, and I take it from there. And as I said, I just share it largely also for myself. So I make these videos for myself, that when I see that A connects with B and B and C, it makes more sense to myself. I'm the one who has to learn. I'm doing it for myself, and by sharing them with others, hopefully others will benefit from it. But I'm a student like everybody else.
Yeah, I so agree with you. I mean, I grew up in the Catholic Church, but I never ever embraced the teachings. I just felt like they were not feeling real. I went because that's what I was told to do, and yet I just never felt like it was something that made it really a deep feeling for me. I felt connected to Source or God, but I didn't feel connected to these teachings. I love the stories about, Jesus and all those things, but I just never felt the connection. So it's so interesting that you say that. I always felt there was so much more. So look at where we are today, like you were in this discovery, and like you, I'm a perpetual student, and I'll never stop, because there's so much. We don't know anything. What we know, like you said, I don't know anything, and the more we know, the less we know, right?
Yeah, that's right. But we know enough to make the first steps, and that's all we are asked to do. Make the first little baby steps forward. That's all. We can't make big jumps, giant steps yet, but little baby steps, and one baby step after another baby step eventually becomes a giant step.
Yeah. So right now, what we're going through with this chaos going on in the world. So who do you think we are as humans on this planet? Do you have any idea? Like, what's your thinking on it?
Well, my understanding, and what I believe is strongly, that we are not human beings. We merely have this human experience here. We are spiritual beings, divine spiritual beings, which means we are from divinity. We come from the pure heavens, which we call the paradise originally. It's in the Bible. We were created perfect beings, and that is our true nature, a true, perfect, divine spiritual being. But a long time ago, shortly after creation of all, some of these pure spiritual beings left the pure heavens, the absolute reality, and the Bible calls it the fall. So these angels fell, basically left through negative thinking or selfish thinking, the highest vibration. You see, the entire existence is nothing than vibration. And what we're talking about is vibrations. The highest vibration is love, and that's where we come from. But when we use selfishness, we lower our vibration, and we can no longer stay in this very high vibration of selfless love. And we removed ourselves through our selfishness and self-centeredness and egoistic behavior more and more, and we fell further and further away from this original, true, absolute being which we were. And over time, we have sort of shadowed ourselves with what we call soul burden. So this pure spiritual being became what I now call a soul. It's no longer in the pure spiritual heaven, it's a soul. And that soul has various ways to, once it understands that it wants to return back to God, which is probably the strongest desire most of these souls by now have understood, that leaving this absolute reality was not a clever idea. And so they return back home, and from various levels, they return home. But there are different ways of returning home. And one way for those particularly low fallen spiritual beings is the opportunity of incarnating here to planet Earth for a very, very short time to clear up as much karma as we can, and also to fulfill and maybe develop qualities like love, compassion, and so on. So we have the absolute, this unique opportunity. This is planet Earth, which is a very unique planet. Again, everything works on the law of attraction, which is same like attracts like. But planet Earth is unique. Here on planet Earth, souls from various levels of consciousness and vibration can incarnate together at the same time, which gives us an opportunity to meet other people, other belief system, other other beliefs basically, or other truths, whatever we feel attracted to. So we can learn here, and also we can connect with souls whom we may have had karmic interaction with in the past, and who may now be on another level and spiritually developed. But here on Earth, we can all come together and meet. And again, it's a very, 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 very short time. As you get older, you realize that it's only 25,000 days. It's very little, as so it's not our total existence here. I know a lot of people think this is all there is, and we are Earthlings, and we are here. This is our life. No, we are temporary. We are guests here. We are guests in a wonderful, wonderful school, and a very unique school, and we have to treat the school, the Earth, very lovingly, as any guest should do anywhere where we are. But we are not of this Earth. The Earth is only our temporary way here to be and to clear up karmic burdens, which come to us day by day through what I call the day's energy. That is at the moment. Now I give you a chance.
It's so interesting. I mean, I don't want to break up your thought, because it was what you're saying, and as you're saying that, I'm thinking, okay, so here we are. Why are we what are we going through right now to tell us that there's things that we're learning? This is part of our karma, what we're going through, obviously, because karma, and I know you talk about karma in a different way. It's not a punishment, it's a learning, right?
Consequence. It's a consequence of our actions.
Yes, it's kind of a natural consequence. It's something that you have to experience, because you've got to undo it. You've got to learn how to grow through it.
Right.
So,
right.
So as a spiritual person yourself, have you dived into your own past life? Do you believe in the past life concept, that it's important to know it? Do you ever dive into your own?
Before I knew more about this, early in my spirit class, I had done past life regressions, and I found interesting stuff which I wouldn't have known otherwise. Today, having a little deeper understanding of the spiritual path, I no longer suggest to do this. I think it can be dangerous. It can be something which opens up a can of worms which shouldn't be opened up. People can really come in a connection with something that may be bothered. It's a lot of things can happen. People can find, the ego can be satisfied that there was somebody special in a previous lifetime, or they can suddenly face situations which were very, very difficult, and they sort of have to think about it, which in truth should all be forgotten. Before we incarnate, we go through the veil of forgetfulness on purpose, so that we are not burdened by our past lives. So I personally am not recommending to go into past lives, although I have done them. I admit to that, but today I think differently. There is a great reason why we should not know, why it is really not helping us to know our past lives, because from moment to moment, we are given all the opportunities to clear up our past. We don't need to know that. And here's one example, for instance. If I have a bad relationship, let's say with my mother, really bad for years and years and years, and now I go into a past life and I see that it was a reversal role. In the other lifetimes, I was giving her the difficult situation as she was my son, daughter, or whatever, in a relationship. And I suddenly realized, oh my God, I only have this bad relationship because I was bad to her in a previous lifetime. Then I make the intellectual decision to suddenly change myself and suddenly start to be loving to my mother. This intellectual decision is not good enough. The change which should come to now love my mother should come from my heart, not from my head. And therefore, sometimes when we discover things in our past life regressions, they can lead us to make intellectual choices which are not necessarily as powerful as if it comes truly from love. It's a very different way when we one day understand, even if that person who gives us a hard time suddenly says, I'm going to change, I'm now doing it with love. This does not mean you have to stay with a person, etc. It does not mean you have to, if boundaries are necessary, sometimes it's okay to leave, but it's always different how we do this and whether we approach it lovingly or just egoistically from our self-satisfaction. So there is a lot of danger when we do into past life regressions. But anybody who wishes to do them, it's a free will. universe, and anybody who wishes to do that, okay, that's maybe right for that person. For myself, I would say I no longer would do that.
That's an interesting concept. I've had a little bit of that, and it did help me, believe it or not, because it brought clarity to why I struggled with my family of origin
Mm-hmm.
when I grew up, and I understood the connection where
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily run to change it in my head, but at least it brought me kind of a peacefulness to know, okay, now I can see why. I got sort of
Yeah.
the understanding of the why it happened and why the connections were so different and why the reactions were different towards me than
Mm-hmm.
other siblings. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so interesting to find this out. And it's an interesting concept. And I didn't really look for them, but they kind of fell in my lap.
Yeah.
And so
Then I guess you
I was
follow
meant
that.
to know. I think I needed to know at that point. I think
Right.
something that you need to know because it helps you get through your karmic things that you're meant to understand more and to grow through.
Yeah, and then sometimes it can also be a health improvement. I mean, Edgar Cayce gave these past life readings all the time, and they were largely about health issues. And sometimes it's helpful to find why we do have a certain handicap, a certain strong illness, etc. And he also then gave us some remedies in many cases to overcome it. So it can be helpful. I'm not ruling it altogether, but if we do it just for curiosity, don't do it. If there's another, that is just entertainment
Oh,
for
that's
the
interesting.
ego,
Yeah,
for the
it's
ego.
nice to hear that because I've not heard anybody say that yet. So you are giving a new thought on that. And so you've dived into your past. Did you ever find out why you're here?
No, I don't think. I think for the same reason, like most of us are here, to clear up my garbage of the past. Yeah,
So
to clear. I've got my daily issues, my daily situations, whether they're irritations or whatever they are, and I have to clear them up like everybody else. And I'm working on them for the last long time, many years.
I love that. I love that you said that. And it's true. And the Earth School is exactly where we're at. So right now during the pandemic, what have you discovered that what do you think is happening right now on the Earth School that we need to know about the pandemic? What do you see unfolding? What do you see unfolding?
Well, as tough as it is for many people, but I think it was a period of self-discovery. I know a lot of people got depressed and so on, which means that their focus in life was in a different direction. It was no longer fulfilled. So I hope that many people found some clarification there. We see that already in the worldly situation, that a lot of people who were working in jobs that didn't satisfy them no longer want to return. Now we have a worldwide shortage of helpers in restaurants and hotel business and so on, because they were highly underpaid. They were living a life which was not really in alignment to what they came here for. So they made choices already. It says, I'm not going back into that kind of life, at least not for these salaries. And so I think other people may also have made some spiritual changes here and found out that there are other ways and other goals to pursue than just only what we were rushing to do prior the pandemic, because we were all in a mad rush. And I noticed suddenly my calendar was empty for a whole year. How wonderful. Now it starts getting full again, one day after the other. And I says, I don't know whether I like it. I like it empty.
True. Yeah. It's so true because my year last year was crazy busy. And this year I've just sort of calmed it down. I just said, you know what, this year I can't do this again. I need to take
Right.
that time everyone else was starting to take last year. So it's been nice to kind of really calm it down a lot. So I understand what you're saying.
It was a year to take inventory, I think, for many
Yes,
people, whether they agree to it or whether they make a decision or not. But it
yeah,
was really where the world said, hold on, stop. This is, I call it a forced meditation. You didn't really want to meditate, but
yeah,
suddenly you couldn't do anything.
yes.
And not everybody can meditate, as we know. A lot of people have problems with stillness.
But it's a different kind of meditation. They're actually forced. I mean, a lot of people got onto like Zoom talks and programs like this, and it opened doors for them, right? Like
Yeah,
what you're talking about. You're opening
right.
all these doors to people. I mean, what I'm getting from you is when you wrote your books, you stepped into the wonder of being a child. Like you always embraced your childlike essence. And then that your spirituality was sort of the door opener, but then that led you into your children's books. This is, I don't know why I'm getting this, but I'm just saying it right now. And that it's probably what you see, but maybe not. But then you got into your spirituality younger, and then that opened the door to your books for children because you love the wonder of innocence and the purity. And you
make the life more hopeful and joyful. Yes.
yes. And why do you think we need purification? Why do you think we need that?
Why do we need to? Because we are vibrational beings, and we are in the way we are at the moment. And you look at the condition of the earth, we are on very low vibration. And if we can do anything to bring us ourselves, each individually, into a higher vibration, this will lift the entire vibration of this planet Earth. It will change everything and will make everything far more agreeable, if not even beautiful. So as vibrational beings, which we are, we have the choice to either stay in the low, bad vibration or slowly go higher. And there are step-by-step programs and teachings from the spiritual world of how we slowly can do this by bringing order in our thoughts, in our words, in our actions, in our homes, in our clothing, and whatever it is, to slowly start and build a great foundation, slowly understanding what is my will versus the divine will, and following the divine will more than the self-will. And so slowly going further and further on this path. And that, I think, will bring us into a higher vibration. It's a long process, but it was also a long process to come down from the pure heavens right down where we are now. Yeah. And we are not, and the wonderful thing is that we are not here as not alone. We have got all the spiritual world helping us to really make it. We all have our spiritual guides, many of them, and energies which will try to move on. Yes. And every time we have made a loving decision or something nice, we get the affirmation in our heart. We says, yes, that was great. Oh, I could do this. I could suddenly forgive, or I suddenly could make this extra step and make this extra help. And we get this feedback, instant feedback of, yes, bravo, you did the right thing. So if we follow our inner feeling, we can see we are never alone. They are applauding for the good thing. And when we are not doing something right, we also know in our stomach very clearly, this is not a path to go, but our ego, our curiosity, and so on, very often says, let's go it anyway. And then we have the consequences, which we call karma, and eventually we have to face this crap again.
It's true. See how simply you make it sound. And yet
it is simple. It is ingenious simplicity.
Yes, it really is. And when people hear that, I think, I know when I was listening to your videos, I was just like, oh my gosh, that I could never have put it in those words so clearly and so simply. I understood the concept, but you just had it right so clearly, like right there. Because
you see it.
Yeah, I do see
it. Let me show this here, for instance, here for your audience. In my videos, I basically show, I draw these things out.
Yeah.
And for instance, here is the one person, my finger, I have to do it all the upper mirror effect, who is doing harm to another person.
Yes.
And that we call karma. He's acting against the law of love.
Yeah.
So that is stored in his soul, in his physical body, in the genes, as well as in the soul of the person he is hurting, as well in the Akashic records, which surround our planet Earth, where everything is recorded that happens on our planet, and most importantly, in the repository planets and stars, where all our karma is stored. And eventually, depending on the movement of the stars, eventually falls back to us as karma, as a consequence. And this can be in this lifetime or in future lifetime. That's in a nutshell all that we are dealing with here. Every day we are facing these downloads from the planets, which are coming back to us as an irritation, a bad phone call, or something. It can be an accident. It can be just a bad mood, a feeling like this. These are all emotions or stuff that comes back to us. And now we have the chance to explore it. It says, oh my God, now I know what it is to be sick and to be hurt and to be hit. And I suddenly understand the situation from the other side, from the receiving end. Or I can see what it means to be negative, because I'm filling myself up with negativity and I feel depressed. So every moment and throughout our day, we are facing our old stuff. Basically, we are rewinding our own life. Our day is made up of our past, and our future is made up of how we respond to whatever happens to us today. So it's very very simple to understand that what we experience today is fate or destiny, which we alone have created and on our soul level have decided we want to explore in this lifetime because we are strong enough to face it. And we are downloading the very stuff which we have uploaded as negative karma whenever we acted, thought, or spoke against the law of love. And if we react, which means just emotionally become angry again, we create new karma, new negativity. If we respond and say, I do forgiveness, I do loving, I do caring, then it vanishes. And that's how we create our future in this life and in future lifetimes. Again, very simple, very straightforward.
Yeah, and I love how you talked about the law of love, and you talk a lot about the universal laws. So can you tell us, why do you think we need the universal laws? I mean, I guess it's, again, similar to what you're saying. It helps us, have structure? I don't know. What do you?
Well, the 7 laws is what I call God, God's spirit, consists of 7 laws, which is order, divine will, divine wisdom, earnestness, patience, love, and mercy. These are sort of energies which we are having given words to in our 3-dimensional world. Again, we are speaking of a 7-dimensional reality, which we try to understand with our very limited 3-dimensional understanding. That's why we give it these words.
Yeah.
These are sort of vibrations. So that is the flow of God. We can also call it the stream of God. We can the Holy Spirit. We can call it. And out of this divine light, which comes from the central sun, creation happened as a crystallization of these things. And out of this, the planets, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdoms, and so on. So we are consisting of this actual the divine law. You and I and everything else is made of this law. And if we are against this law and act negatively against, like for instance, disorder and etc., we are creatively crystallizing away from this law. And this is how our 3-dimensional world here has started. So we have to go back to become what we truly are. In many of the New Age teaching and also other teachings say that we just all came from Neanderthal and we slowly progressed and progressed and progressed. That is only true to a degree. We were perfect beings. All we have to do is to reawaken of who we were. We don't have to create anything new. You and I have got the same amount of wisdom, the same amount of love, the same amount of everything. That is our true being. However, through our selfishness, we have overshadowed it. And we just have to get rid of the shadows, these layers around our souls. Once we clear those shadows, we will be the shining crystal again. Very simple again, very straightforward.
Yeah, and that's so beautifully said, because you hear people talk about we're meant to remember who we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're meant to go back to the divine essence that we are. I mean, people think that we were told, we were brought up and we started in sin. Well, that isn't really the truth, is it?
No.
We
created what we call sin, but we can
that was definitely
undo it.
Yes, and so when you hear that you're a divine essence, and I think that's why this is happening during the pandemic. Like you said, it's a meditation time. People are meant to wake up, but even if they're taking walks and they're having quiet time, they don't normally have that. I mean, I've seen more people in my neighborhood than I ever saw, during this pandemic, because nobody was ever out. Neighborhoods are empty nowadays. When I grew up, neighborhoods were full, and now they're not. They're empty. Kids aren't hardly playing in the streets. It's just such a different world. We're so isolated in a way. And yet now they're coming out, because once you're really in isolation, like an enforced isolation, like we've been, we find how much we don't like it. We think we want that, and yet we don't really enjoy that. So interesting.
It's a great community. We return back to kind of community living, and I think that is something. And as you're right, our intellect, which created all the iPhones and the computers and so on, has separated us. We have the illusion of being closer to each other, but we are not. And we will eventually somehow get closer again. I'm sure the times will come ahead where we have more and more opportunity to connect. And it's no mirror. There's also a step quite logical, that so many children over the last few years, grown-up children, moved back to their parents for economic reason, for other reasons, because there was the karma to clear it up. There was a reason for it. And it's a very purpose. So it's a time of more purification at the moment. So everything works according to, for the best for us. Everything's happening for the best for us without exception. Everything happens for us and not to us, as Byron Katie always says.
I think that's my favorite sentence of lately. I've been hearing that so much. Everything happens for us. And when I first heard that, I had never thought of it that way. It's true, but it's absolutely the truth. If you let go of being a victim and a martyr and all that kind of stuff, it is happening for us, even though it doesn't look like it's not fun, some of it, but sometimes it's like taking you and shaking you and going, okay, wake up, wake up. This is not who you're meant to be, right? We're meant to be these beautiful divine beings. We're meant to live in those laws that are love and grace and forgiveness and mercy. And I mean, so
Byron Katie has
the big questions about death.
Mhm.
Go ahead. Byron Katie, what were you go ahead?
No, but regarding what you just said, Byron Katie has another wonderful saying, which I just quote somehow. It says, if this difficulty you find yourself in is the only way to return home to God, would you accept it? That's another important question to ask. If the only way to return home to God, would you accept it? And suddenly we may a lot shift in ourselves when we think about this line. I always like that quote by her.
Yeah, that's a very good quote. I love that. It makes so much sense because we do have that choice.
Yeah.
You have that choice, as hard as it is. Like, is it worth it? I mean, this is kind of what we're learning, isn't it? That the difficulties we're going through are important, and don't think it's just punishment. It's not punishment.
No,
it's just
no.
learning.
And it is a school. We are here. It's a school. I've got this wonderful little poem which I found on a Starbucks cup many, many years ago. And I just love this one because it says it all. Life is a school for angels. Love is the teacher. So you do your homework without fear. Death is merely graduation. Death wrote this. And I said that these 4 lines just said everything what I have in my videos. And that what I need to remind myself of as well. It is really very simple. This is a school. This is not the end game here on earth. This is only a college, which is very difficult to get in. We forget that. There are a lot of souls who want to come in, take the opportunity to clear themselves up in this very short period of time. But there are not enough physical bodies to incarnate in at the moment. So they sometimes take bodies which are in environment of very third world kind of environment, which is not what they normally would incarnate, just to be here. So highly evolved souls incarnate in a very difficult situation, just to be here in this incredible school for the souls. So for us to be here on earth is a tremendous blessing, and we must respect that in every way.
That's a beautiful thing to say, because I agree with that, and it takes a while. It takes you to clear a lot of things in your life to get to that understanding and to say, okay, I mean, for me, that's how it worked for me. I had to learn that way.
Yeah.
So what do you need to know, and what have you seen on these teachings, how they affect your life and the lives of others? What is the biggest effect you've gotten from bringing these teachings, and for others? What do you see them talking about?
I think the techniques which I learned, or the understanding, is whenever I was upset, I found ways to simply look at that. What is it? What is the cause? And in many cases, I was able to let go of this negativity right away. Not everything works straight away. Sometimes a big chunk of something comes back and faces you, and then you are stuck with it for a week or so. But eventually it will go away, because with the moment you approach it with the understanding that this is something I have to go through, I also understand that everything changes, that the condition I'm in right now, this thought pattern which catches me at the moment, is not permanent. It's something I have to go through. All of this helps. So basically, when you ask me what did it good for me, I think I found faster and faster ways to let go of negative emotions, feelings, situations, and clear them up much easier with the divine help, which I am aware of and which is in me, and allowing myself to convert all the negativity into the light. So that is in short the answer. So for me, it's a benefit, and I have seen it over the years how it works, and that's it.
No, that's a big one. I mean, how many people have gotten to that, to actually be able to say that, For me too, I had to get to the point where, I mean, I've been sober 29 years. So when I got into like the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I did that, but it was such a great opening for me to my spirituality because
Yeah.
I knew there was so much more, but yet this was my door opener. Besides Reiki, then it was Reiki, but first was it, yes, it was first my sobriety, absolutely. And then that
Yeah.
allowed me to clear so much of my own fog in my brain and who I am and who I'm meant to be, that I could step into my spiritual and
So all these days where you were really suffering with the alcoholism were basically just only to get you for the next step, to suddenly enter the door of the AA meeting, which then made you the connection to a different God than you learned in the Catholic Church. The
absolutely.
loving God who is there and wants to help you just only for today. And this is what I said earlier. We are given every day these little tasks which we have put into the computer ourselves. And we don't have to do more. We don't have to save our whole life right now. We don't have to become holy and walk on water right now. We only have to deal with those little things, these little irritations, these little negativities every day, and interact with people around us in a loving way. I mean, it's not all that difficult. And that's what you learned basically when you entered through these doors of the AA meeting. And suddenly your whole life entered and changed. And suddenly your life became much, much deeper and much more richer.
Oh, it was amazing. It really, I mean, I found family. I found
Yeah,
the family I was looking for, the people who could
yeah.
hear me and understand what I had gone through. And there was no judgment, of course, and that was
Hmm.
very helpful. And then to move forward, um, and it just kept opening doors and opening doors. And of course you have to open your doors. You've got to keep stepping through those doors every time they're offered to you. So that is also a choice, but I found it to be so amazing. And you let go of everything. You let go of the shame. I mean, you learn to forgive yourself and to love yourself again. I mean, own your divine light was brought through because finally, after all these years, I said, this is what I'm meant to bring through for people, is to help them understand how to own their divine light, who we are, like you're saying, these divine essences that we fell away from. We've gotten into the density, we've gotten into the materialism, the ego, and all that distracted us. And now this pandemic has brought us full circle. It really
Yeah,
has, hasn't it? It's brought
yeah.
us
So you came basically from the poor me life, the victim or the
exactly.
poor me, into now I'm ready to share and help others. I mean, this transition is amazing.
Yeah,
And it's just wonderful how it works. If we
it is.
just go with the signals, you followed a certain signal to make that extra step eventually, and then you were led by the hand, and now you share this all with so many people around the globe.
Yeah, and it's a gift. And I realized what a gift all of these lessons have been, just like for you. I don't so so what has benefited you during this whole two years we're going through this, almost a year and a half at least now? What has benefited you particularly? Anything new that popped up besides what you've shared?
To tell the truth, no. For me, I was one of the situation which was not too affected by it. I do less children books these days, so my work was not affected by it. I had more time to read, and I had to time reflect. And
Ah,
I'm living here in a marvelous area. I was very blessed to live in this beautiful place here in Connecticut, as you do.
we're fellow.
And it's a garden. The whole state is basically a garden. It is beautiful. So I am very close to nature. I got closer to nature, I think, during this year. And but I do fully understand that so many other people were sort of very isolated, very lonely, single people particularly, and for them it was very different. And so this period for me was a graceful period, and I'm grateful for it. And I can't say that I have really grown anything in particular from this one. I'm not aware of it, but I swam through it. We all are differently. We are all differently. How shall I say? Interact with life situation, where there's a war somewhere or whatever it is. Some people flow through it without being affected by it, and others are deeply affected by this. And this is a karmic situation for whatever reason it is. Or it can also be, it's not always karma, it can also be just our own lesson, which we wanted to learn in this lifetime. Is this in this lifetime, I want to learn compassion. And for that reason, I would be born into a war area and will experience war and help other people. So not everything what is negative comes to us as karma. But in every situation, whether it's karma or whether our own desire to become something and to grow, in every situation, the answer is always love and nothing else.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, it's hard to believe that love is the answer for everything, but it's true. I mean, the
It
Beatles,
sounds,
love is all there is, right?
yeah, it sounds a little so kitsch, but it is. It always comes back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and because we've learned, I mean, I think for me during the pandemic, what I've learned is that family is so important and friends are so important, and you value them more. And then
Yes.
you realize the ones that you really want to be with versus the ones you don't want to be with. And you learn a lot about yourself as well. Like you
Yes.
said, you were in nature a lot. And I think
Yeah.
that's so powerful. I mean, nature is a beautiful, frequency, shifter, and allowed you to have this beautiful period of grace and relaxation. I mean, obviously you earned it. It was time for you to have that. So
Yes.
it was a beautiful thing to hear that. So do you have a final message for our audience that you think they need to hear for right now during 2021, moving into the next?
This all comes back to one thing and so on. See what are the relationships which are not healed, and use number one, forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. Forgive yourself, forgive others, and ask for forgiveness wherever you think you have done something wrong. Do not miss out, because before the person dies or disappears or goes somewhere else, to use every opportunity to clear up as much as possible right away. Whatever is a person who just jumps to your mind of when I speak about forgiveness, go to that person, connect with this person if possible, and clear that matter up instantly. Next step is, I think, gratefulness. Use as much gratefulness as you can. Count your blessings one by one, as the old song goes. Must be grateful for the fact that you can sit in a chair, that you have shoes on your feet, and you have got food in the refrigerator, and a house over your roof. Most people, I think, watching this have that. It doesn't have to be anything grand, but just the simple things in life. Not everybody on this planet has that. And just to count your blessings, the moment we go into gratefulness, and you may want to watch my video on gratefulness, you change your whole metabolism. And out of gratefulness comes love and loving so much easier. And the last thing is really learn to love everything, simply everything. I have made a video on that one as well. Love it all. It sounds difficult. It sounds
Oh, hold on, hold on. We froze. What happened? We froze.
That's basically in a nutshell. It's enough.
I'm sorry. You know what happened here? I paused. You froze on me, so I apologize. I just missed what you said, and it was the last part when you talked about the very last thing you started to say towards the end. You said gratefulness, and then you went to something and you froze. So
Oh, yeah, gratefulness. And I think that is all what is really important. The gratefulness, and it's a lot. I mean, forgiveness, love, and gratefulness are through big chunks. When you ask for one thing, they are big, but focus on these three and clear up your life easily. And the moment we clear up our life, we breathe better, we live better, we are healthier. It's so simple.
it is so true. I mean, because you release all this burden. It's so much we carry around, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
is a beautiful message. We carry burdens after burdens after burdens, and you're giving us you're saying, just let it go. There's ways to just release it so beautifully. So thank you for that. So I know you have a little offering, a free offer to the people, which do you want to share it, or do you want me to share it? What would you like?
Why do you do that?
Yeah, it's that. Well, we have Hans has his free videos on his YouTube channel, Life Explained. The links are all going to be down below, and they are absolutely incredible. They're like 5 minutes to 15-minute videos. They are so amazing. So I highly recommend them. You'll sit there and watch them all day, because there's so many life teachings that you're just going to go, whoa, I never got that. I never understood that way. So it's powerful. So that is the gift from Hans, and it was really, really powerful. So thank you, Hans, so much. And I want to thank our audience for being here. And always, we love to hear from you and love you to comment and give us feedback, because what Hans has shared here today is so amazing, so valuable. And he has, he just has so much wisdom, and he's so simple and beautiful in what he does and shares for everyone. So Hans, I want to thank you so much because you have truly owned your divine light. Your enlightened, empowering videos are so wonderful and joyful to listen to. And you are the master, I call it, of crystallized simplification. And it's so wonderful for people to have that because we make it so difficult. And you are an amazing way show and a magnet of light, which we all need right now. So when we're in your presence, I can just feel the essence, the beautiful love that you ooze. So thank you so much for bringing that to us and for stepping into it.
Thank you, Ayla. It was an honor and pleasure to have been with you and your audience. Thank you again for having invited me.
Thank you too. So I am Ayla Serona Miller, and I will see you on the next episode.